Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to integrate Razorpay in your Node.js Express web app. So Razorpay is basically a payment gateway just like Stripe but for the Indian audience. So in India we have various payment methods like UPI to send and receive payments. So Razorpay is for that. So it's basically Stripe just for India. So Razorpay is actually really good. The product is really good, but the documentation is actually not that great. And I actually found it a bit hard, like starting it off like a month earlier. So I'm going to be showing you how to like use Razorpay in your web app and how to deploy it finally. So let's start. So basically, first visit razorpay.com and hit sign up. You need to sign up with your Google Gmail account or email. After that, you get access to the Razorpay dashboard. So here is the Razorpay dashboard. As you can see, it shows all the payments you've done, number of refunds and number of payments. So this is actually like a test payment and it's not real money. I was just testing it few days earlier. So that's that. So you set up the dashboard now and you can just use Razorpay from now on from the dashboard. Apart from that, I've also set up a new folder basically where we're going to like write the code for the Node.js thing, and I also made this REPL for you so that you can look at the HTML file for this. I'm using Bulma, so there's no script or style tags, so this is basically it. So you can just check it out in the link below. You can just copy it and use it in the web app if you want to. So this is our like the HTML we're going to use for this web app. So I think we started, right? So let's start. So basically, first of all, I'm going to open the command line and hit npm init -y. So this basically like starts off with the package.json, and then we'll install Express because that's what I'm using with npm I express. So after that's done, I think Razorpay is the only thing we need to start off working on this. Sorry for that. npm I Razorpay. It's just Razorpay. You can just type npm install Razorpay if you want. So that's that. So I also recommend installing NodeMon globally, like npm I NodeMon, which is basically like Node, but it like restarts the web app whenever you make a change and save it. So I already have it installed, so you can do that as well. So we've set everything up and now let's just create an index, index.js here. So this is basically it, like our index file. So we start off like const. This is all just basic Express here. We got an Express, now Razorpay. So just use a capital letter because we're going to initialize it later. Razorpay, this is small lettered, so let's just run app equals Express, and let's just like app dot listen 5000 on port 5000. I think okay, yeah, we've started the web app. So I'm going to be using EJS to render out the HTML. Like basically this HTML is going to be like you can use React, Vue or Angular or any framework you like to. So as this is just a basic project, I'm going to be using EJS. So npm, I'm going to install EJS here. So once that's done, I can just initialize all of these. So app.set, this is all just some starter code to like get Vue or get EJS. So app.set Vue engine. I think you guys might know all of this, so you can just skip to the timestamp here, so that if you want to like just get into the actual Razorpay stuff. So if you're a beginner, you can just continue with what I'm doing, and then we'll so after that we'll initialize the body parser for form requests. So we'll do express dot URL encoded extended false. I think that's the code, right? Yeah. So our basic web app is done. If you want, you can just do app.get to check if it's working slash and then just request and response, and we can just response.send in here. Send working. Okay, yeah, so let's do that, and I'm using nodemon index.js. So I initialized it. It's basically like node index.js, but it just saves it. So if I just open up in a new tab, local host on 5000 port. So yeah, you can see working rendered here. So that's really great. We just got it working. So this is basically the basic stuff then done. Now we'll do the HTML, basic HTML. So it needs to be in a folder. Okay, not this. I mean, it needs to be in a folder called views, as we set it up here. So views, and let's just name the file razorpay.ejs. Did I name it right? Yeah, I did. Okay. So I'll just copy this HTML code here from here, and I'm just going to paste it. So this is our basic EJS done. Oh no, I didn't copy it completely. Okay. Yeah, basic EJS done. If you want to see it working, in just response.render with the file name, which is basically Razorpay. Yes, so it, as we specified the views folder, you need no need to like slash views slash Razorpay, no need of the directory. It automatically sets it to view. So if I refresh this yeah, you can see it working. So our basic setup is done. We set up the EJS file, and the basic node environment is done. So now let's move on to Razorpay. So this is basically the docs. So you can just go to the doc here and get started with the SDK here, and if you click that, you can click on the web integration. That's what we're doing. So this is the basic like Razorpay user interface. It's really good. Like, it's both mobile compatible and desktop compatible. So I really like Razorpay for Indian developers. So the first thing you need to do is generate API keys. So these API keys are for like for the payments, obviously. So let's just go to the Razer dashboard and go to settings here and API keys. So I actually generated the API keys here. So it actually like shows it here. So in case you didn't do it, I guess there's a button called generate test key or test key, right? So as we are in test mode, this is basically like for testing if the solution works. If you want to push it like and deploy it, you can just switch it from test mode to live mode and fill the KYC form. Like, you need to fill this to deploy it. So if that's done, you'll get new like test keys. So you can just look at my test keys here, because I'm going to regenerate them anyway, and basically they're in test mode, right? So now if you hit the regenerate test key, you'll get new keys. So this is the key ID is basically the public key, and the secret is the one which needs to be stored in your database. So this is it. So like, you can get these two. I actually saved it in a Google Doc, so that it's easy for me to look at. So let's just set up Razorpay here. So in order to set up, you need to initialize it first with Razorpay equals new, I spelled it wrong here, new Razorpay, and it's basically this, an object with the key ID and key secret, key underscore ID, and key. You can set up and you can set up the .env file if you want, but since we're just getting to know how to use Razorpay, I think this is just fine to just copy and paste it here. So it's a string, right? So I'll just put 2 quotes here and just copy this over, and the secret too. So this is the secret. So yeah, okay, yeah, this is done. So we initialized Razorpay. So now that's done, we can move on to the next step. So let's look at the doc here once again. It says to create an order from your server. So basically, an order is basically it specifies the amount you're going to pay and the currency. That's the basic thing, so that server is more reliable than the front end, right? So a person can just inspect and change it. So we need to first create an order from the backend. So what we can do is we can create a variable called options. So let's just create a post request, so that you'll get what I'm trying to do. 1 second. Order, and then okay, yeah, so fonts. So yeah, so app.post. So from Razorpay, in our HTML file, we'll send a post request to the /order, so that we can get the order ID. So I'll just show you what it is. So options, so you can just copy paste this, I guess. I don't think it's formatted. Okay, yes it is. So let's just change it to, because I'm more comfortable in that. So since our since the currency we use in India is rupees, right? So since we specified it to be 500, you can just you think it should be 500, right? But it's actually in paise, so you need to multiply it by 100, which is basically 2 zeros. Or if you want, you can just do 500 times 100. So that's fine either. So you can do both. I'll just leave it right here because it looks simple. And there's also a receipt thing, receive an object in that. So I don't use it that often, but if you want, you can just use a unique ID from npm and just generate a receipt every time you create an order. So I'm just going to delete it right here. So we can just specify the amount and the currency. So after that, we can just do Razorpay dot orders dot create. So it has 2 options. What is happening to my options? And a function with error and the order ID, an order object. So once that's done, let's just right here, and we can, if you want, we can just log it here. So log the order object. So this is basically, okay, I think I missed something here. What did I miss? Let's just make it a function. Oh, okay, I didn't do the arrow function thing. Okay, so that's where I missed. So you can just log in the order if you want. So we need to import Axios, so that you can even use fetch if you want for making post requests, but for now I'm going to use Axios. So this is the Axios CDN. Let's just import it here. Yeah, okay, so apart from that, I guess, so let's just move on to the next step. See, so this is where basically all the your front end thing comes. So this is basically your front end, what is in the front end. So you can basically copy paste and it works, but for now let's just use this callback and try to make it do it on our own. So this is the checkout.razorpay. So this is the Razorpay JavaScript file which you need. So I imported it there, and we'll do a script tag. One second. Yeah, so we'll do a script tag here. So let's just do 1 second. Yeah, okay, we'll do it after this, and then let's just do a script tag. Script. This doesn't do. This is EJS, right? Script. Okay, so inside the script tag we'll use Axios, so and see if it works. Axios.post /order dot then let's just log. It gets logged in whenever you send a post request, so I think this doesn't matter. So let's just do info arrow function here, and then we'll log it here too if we want. So just to see if it works. Info. Okay, so I actually forgot to send the JSON file back, so let's just do that so that we can get it in the front end. Let's just send in the order object. So this basically returns it back when we use the dot then. Now it works, I guess. So let's just see. Okay, I did. So you can see all the data here. It's not showing the data. Okay, it's here. So you can see the amount due, like all the data you need, like the order ID. This is what we need in the front end right now for now. So let's just do that. So once we do 1 second, yeah, so once we do the axios.post, we then need to create another option with, okay, if you want to like look at the docs here and understand it. So this is basically like your options file where you can set all the theme, the color, if you want your prefill, like if you want the prefill of like the name, email and contact, if you have them already, you can just do that. You need to put your key ID here. This amount and currency, I don't really recommend putting it here because it doesn't matter in the front end. So these two are the only ones like which I don't recommend. So let's just type it out. Okay, I'll just copy it and paste it. I think that's a better option than just typing it. So I'll just copy it and paste it. So before that, there are like two things you can do. One is like with handlers and callback. For me, you can do whatever you want. It's basically the similar thing, but I recommend like callback because I think it's way more convenient than that. So you can just send a post request to wherever you want after the payment is done. So I think that's a better solution. So if you want, you can go on with the handler function as well, but I really like the callback one. So let's just paste in this. So I already have like the Razorpay key here, my Razorpay key, and I'll just remove this amount thing. If you want, you can just change all of this like Acme Corp and all. I also pasted a dummy logo which I had from my project. So as you can see, I also did like I took the info and put it in info.data.id. So it's where it is, right? Info.id. So that's like info.data.id. It's where it is, right? So that works as well. So you can just put in the order ID. So you need the order ID for every transaction. Like there's a new order ID generated whenever you create a new transaction. So that's what happened. So I created an order ID and then send it to the front end where I just get it from Axios and then use it here. So once that's done, 1 second, I can also set the color if you want. That's all the basic things you need to know. So after that's done, you need to like initialize it. Once we open like open or click a button. So I'll just paste this code here. This is good. So new Razer, you need to initialize the Razorpay one again with options in it. So what we're doing here is giving an ID of Razorpay button one. So just basically this button. So let's just name it there. Yeah, okay. So I'll just give it an ID of this Razorpay button. I think it should work now. So if I refresh, I guess, yeah, it works. So this is pretty nice, right? So you can just fill out the information. I'll just type some random info here and then do hi, I don't know. So you can just see if it works pretty well. The UI is also really good. So for testing if it actually works, so you can test out with some dummy cards. So you can just type test cards Razorpay. So that this link pops up and you can test it out with all these. So if it's MasterCard, I'll just do this, type in whatever you want, and if I pay, it opens a new tab like with success or failure, and you can just hit whatever you want. So as you can see, it shows cannot post is order completed. That's because I specified a callback URL too, which is a post request. It sends a post request to this URL here. So basically we need to do this again. So just to confirm the order, if it's done or not. So if I just do app.post / is order, let me just copy this here. So now that the order is done, we need to verify it if the order is really done or if it's like a malicious user who did it. So let me just request response. So yeah, so what we need to do here is like when we send a post request with the callback URL, you get all of these, like the payment ID, order ID, which is a different order ID than the first one you did. So that's confusing, right? And the signature. So like you can store all of this in like your database or even in like session data. So if you want, you can do that, but this is just a demo app. So I'll just store it in some variables for now. So which is actually a really bad practice. So I don't recommend doing that, but for now let's just do it. So I guess so basically what we're doing is like the callback URL is then sent, like it sends data of these through as I told. On success, on failure, this all happens. So that's like this is done with handler. So but in callback you just get these three, which is actually really simple. You know, if it's failed when you only get an empty object. So for verifying if the order is definitely completed, we need the order ID which we got from the first place. So from this order ID, so let's just set up I'm going to just create a variable. This is actually a really bad practice. I don't recommend doing this, but since we're the only one using it, order ID, I don't recommend doing this at all, but this is very easy to get done with and to test if it actually works. So order ID variable equals order.id, in this case order.id. So why did this come here? So this is basically your order ID stored. I recommend at least storing it in your request, but since I'm the only one who's doing it and like only one doing it and using this for now, so I think this is pretty nice and simple to set up. So the order ID is now stored in the order ID variable, and then let's now check whether the payment is done or not. So this is not like developed for like JavaScript users, because this is not JavaScript. This is in fact like Java here. So I don't really like the doc here because it's really hard to like clone this exactly on like JavaScript. So I used a node function here, so I'm just going to show it to you right now. So to check whether the payment is done, we just do Razorpay dot payments dot fetch. So you just do this with like the payment ID, I guess. So request dot body dot, which you get from let me just do this. Okay, it's Razorpay underscore payment underscore ID, I think. Okay, so like I stored this variable here, but we actually don't need it. But if you're trying to do something like this just to be sure, you can, but I think this is not needed for now, so I'm just going to delete it. So I just wanted to show you guys the third step just so that you be aware. Like they actually use the HMAC SHA-256, I guess that's how you pronounce it, to like do this and encode it so that you can check whether the Razorpay signature, which is returned here, is actually equal to the order ID and this Razorpay ID and secret. So that you can do, but what I'm going to show you is even simpler. So when we get the callback, like after it sends the post request, we get something called we get these three, right? So basically the payment ID. So the most important thing is the payment ID here, so to check whether the payment is working. So that's what I did. So I did Razorpay request.body like the payments.fetch, which basically says whether it returns the basic like payment details. So from that we're going to see if the payment is done. So we can just do, this is basically a promise here, so let's just do all of this here. Okay, let's just name it document payment document. I think that's better. So yeah, okay. So what you need to do is like you need to check whether, like, let me just log it for you so that you know what is happening, so that you have a better idea. Log console.log payment document. Okay, let's just see what happens here. Let me do this again. Go back to home, get the book. Let me just fill out all the data. I'm just typing. So you can do UPI. I think there is some UPI here. Okay, success at Razorpay. You can just copy this here. What? Yeah, okay. You can just copy this and paste it and see if it's coming. You need to accept the payment usually in your payment app like Google Pay. So that is not happening now. Okay, so as it's just a test, right? So captured. Okay, yeah, so we get that from like the payment document. So we didn't log the document, right? So this is the request or payment ID which we got from the callback URL, as you remember, and then we console log the payment document, which is basically all this. So it has a property called captured. I never saw others using it, but I've heard it works. So you can just see status captured. So if the status is captured, your payment is successful. So you can just do very simply. So if like use payment document, right? Payment document dot status equally dot captured. You can basically do res dot send payment successful. Yeah, if you want, you can redirect it to any URL you want. So if it's not, I'll just make it redirect to res dot redirect to the home page, I guess. Let's just try out the whole thing, and our web app is basically completed. and now fill my details. So and then I use the UPI ID here. So 500 rupees, as we said, 500 here. See, you get the message of payment successful. So our web app is completed. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you understood how Razorpay works, and now you can finally work on your project you always wanted. Thank you.